Steve Sapato, and you're listening to the Speaker Talks podcast. I have the pleasure today of having Brett Ridgway on. And Brett's just going to start talking to us and tell us where he's from, what he does now, and a little bit about him. Okay, Brett?
Sure, be happy to, Steve, and appreciate the invitation to be with you this afternoon. So,
Yeah.
I've been involved in online marketing and the speaker space for about 25, 30 years now. And way back in 1995, I actually put up the first portal website in the plant engineering and maintenance industry. About the same time, a little event rolled through Hurricane Andrew through Florida, and a late great copywriter, a guy named Gary Halbert, put on an event down in Key West to raise funds for relief or whatever.
Okay.
And so I attended that event with my mentor at that time. That's probably 92 or 93, Steve, and got to meet some of the people in that particular space. And that led to a joint venture with a guy named Carl Galletti in about 1996, where I took over his hard to find marketing book catalog and put it online. But then that subsequently led to when Carl did his first internet marketing super conference in 1999, he called me up and asked me if I'd handle the back of the room for him. Well, I didn't even know what back of the room meant.
That's right, yeah.
But I hadn't been to Las Vegas before, so I said, sounds good to me, I'll do it. So I went up there and did that, and started to get to know some of the internet marketers and the information marketers at that event. And then some of them found out that we were doing product fulfillment for our own website, that portal website I put up in 95. And so one of them cornered me at an event because we had started to do back of the room for multiple speakers. So we were doing about 20 or 30 events a year where we were handling the back sales table. So we provided the merchant account that could handle a lot of money in a short period of time, and the staff to do it, and managed all the money for the speakers and the promoters, etc. But one of them cornered me at an event and asked me if I would take over some fulfillment for him. And I'd been thinking about it for a while because of the natural outgrowth of all the people I had gotten to know in the industry. And so he said, what the heck, let's put it together. So we formed Speaker Fulfillment Services in 2002. And here we are about 20 years later, still, as you are, serving speakers and authors and information marketers.
Yeah, cool. And for those of us, those people who don't know what back of the room sales is or speaker fulfillment services, basically, if I'm on stage and I'm selling my program, so let's say I'm on stage and I got 45 minutes to sell a room of 200 people, and I say it the right way, hopefully 10, 15, 20 people, now we'd love more, but 10, 15, 20 people will get up and go to the back of the room to purchase, like, hey, you want to be a great speaker, you want to make a lot of money, you want to make 200 grand every year, year after year, you become a great speaker, and I can teach you how to do that. Go back, reach back out to my table and sign up, and we'll get you all organized to become a fabulous speaker making tons of money. Then when you get up and walk to the back of the room, you meet Brett, right, Brett?
There you go. And we did that for a few hundred events over the course of about a 15-year period. It's not our primary focus now, but that was where I got to know, the big key players in the industry. I mean, Armin Moore and Alex Mondosian, Mike Filsame, Ryan Dice, Perry Marshall, Joe Calm, Joe Bauer, and a lot of other movers and shakers. And so we were able to build our business fairly quickly because of those relationships that had been established.
You know, what's funny is you mentioned those names. And again, most of the people watching us out there will go, who, what? But those are the people making the big money, right? They make big money.
We've done a lot of multi-million-dollar product launches in my career here at Speaker Fulfillment Services. And, a lot of it's to name people, but it's also people in industries that you wouldn't even think of, Steve. I mean, you name any subject and there's an information product about it. Now, the industry's changed dramatically in the last few years. But for example, we have a lot of clients in the Forex market, and they were coming out with a new program almost every month and doing multi-million-dollar launches nearly every month.
No, wait, the Forex? The Forex?
Forex, Forex, foreign exchange currency.
So all right.
Like commodity trading, basically, on money, essentially. So we were able to work with a lot of key people right out of the gate, and that led to all sorts of things being built primarily via word of mouth, essentially.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, really. It's when we talk about being a speaker, the one thing I love to tell people, Brett, is I do more than teach them how to be speakers. I teach them the speaking business. And one of the things most speaking coaches don't do is teach them the back end of speaking, which is how to get your jobs. What do you do with it when you get it? How do you get on stage and speak? What do you sell? How do you put packages together? Most speakers say, I'll teach you how to be a great speaker. Ta-da! 4 or 5 months later, they're a speaker. And then they call people like me going, what do I do next? John Maxwell is one of the wonderful people. He teaches coaches. He
Mhm.
trains coaches how to be coaches. And when I was in the coaching business on how to help businesses be better at business, I had John Maxwell speakers, John Maxwell coaches calling me, and I go, at first, when I first got them, I went, I don't understand why you're calling me. You just finished a $10,000 John Maxwell package. What are you calling me for? And they went, well, they taught us how to be great coaches, but they didn't teach us how to get any business.
Sure. Well, it's so much like the Michael Gerber E-Myth, essentially. I mean, being great at doing something and being great at running a business that does that something are two entirely different things.
Tremendously different. And that's what most people don't understand is, hey, you want to be a speaker? Great. Go out and be a speaker. You can do that on your own. If you're like me, it took 2 years to do that by speaking at little places, speaking for free, doing this, doing that. And then you can grow yourself a speaking business. But even like me, and I did it for 20 years, but when I was doing it, just like Brett probably knows this, when I was doing it 40 years ago, you talk to one company, the company would say, oh, yeah. And then they'd go to an event and say, you ought to hire Steve Sapato. And that company would call me up. And so I got business because somebody referred somebody who referred, because they were going to the same meetings, they were doing the same thing. But you know what? 10 years ago, ballpark, I guess, really, like you said, recently the thing has changed for you, but 10 years ago, the world changed and people stopped calling. I went, well, I don't understand what happened, right? Well, the people who I always done business with, who I had a professional and yet personal relationship with, moved on, right? They got old, they retired, they did this, they did that. And then one day, all the new people who do everything online through networking, right? They started to take control and they weren't calling Steve Sapato. So I had to go back in and learn how to do business a different way. And that's what you guys have done over the last couple, 3 years, right?
Well, no doubt about it. I mean, we built a company almost entirely off of word of mouth advertising. So we were never real proactive in terms of going out and seeking clients. They were coming to us almost as fast as we could handle them. And so that's one of, frankly, my biggest failures in business is relying basically on one stream of revenue or source of leads and not really developing all those other channels that could help continue to feed and grow the business when the word of mouth, got tired
But you didn't know that was going to happen, right? We didn't know. I mean, word of mouth was like, that's the way to do business.
And it's still a great way, but relying on that solely is very dangerous. I mean,
that's right. And so how do you help speakers now?
Well, we're one of the behind the scenes type things, Steve. I mean, we are, for some of our clients, they have, as we said, they sell at the back of the room. So they have products that they sell online or in the back of the room that are physical products. So we'll produce their home study course, whether that's manuals, workbooks, CDs, DVDs, flash drives, whatever, package it all together, then warehouse and ship it out to their customers for them. So it's all hands off for them. So they can focus their energy on what they should be doing, getting more speaking gigs, writing that next great speech, whatever it may be. For others of our clients, it's just strictly the fulfillment side of things. So they've written a great book, but they know they shouldn't be spending time shipping out their book to customers. So we integrate with their online platform. Orders come to us, we ship their books for them. A lot of speakers we handle, and obviously this slowed down due to COVID, but it's starting to come back. At their speaking events, they have books shipped out in advance of their speaking events, so they don't want to lug books around. So we'll ship a few cases to wherever they need, so they don't have to manage that process. So we're behind the scenes support for the speakers, authors, information marketers, so they can focus their time on what they should be spending their time on.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you, it's one of the questions I sent out, but it says, what are the top 3 mistakes to avoid in your industry? Like whether you have to avoid them or whether the people you work with have to avoid them. What might be the top 3?
Sure. So keeping in mind that my perspective is from the multiple speaker who do the back of the room sales arena versus the keynote speaker. But in that arena, I think the 3 biggest mistakes I see people make are, number one is when they're going into a multi-speaker event, they don't really study who else is speaking at that event. And so you have multiple speaker overlap on the same topic in many cases. I mean, I've been to events where you had 3 speakers talking about copywriting, for example, all trying to sell a package in the back of the room. Well, by the time you got to that 3rd speaker talking about copywriting, his chance of selling something in the back of the room was, like almost nil. So you got to do your homework ahead of time and figure out how you can best fit into that platform and that you're not overlapping with other speakers who are sharing that stage. The second thing I think I see as a big mistake is speakers not having an extra speech in their back pocket. I've been to events where a speaker got sick or somebody didn't show up or whatever, and the poor event host is scrambling like crazy trying to figure out what they're going to do with that slot or whatever. And if you have an extra speech in your back pocket that is appropriate for that event that you can offer up to the event promoter to get them out of a jam, many cases will take you up on it. And so you get more face time with that audience, which can really help stimulate sales of whatever it is you're offering at that event. And I think the third thing, and this applies to not only a platform speaker who's selling from the stage, but keynote speakers as well, is not really controlling their speaker environment as much as they can. Certainly there are factors that you can't control, but there are some factors that you can control. I mean, are you getting on the stage ahead of time and making sure there aren't, dead spots or spots that causes the feedback in the audio system? Are you testing the microphone ahead of time? If you're trying to do a PowerPoint or a slides, don't try to include live internet connections in it, because I've seen too many internets not work properly at an event, and then it just totally derail the speaker. So all those factors that you can control, do what you can in advance to make sure that they are working the way you want them to, and just don't leave it all up to the event promoter to make sure, hey, everything's going to be great.
I think that is one of the huge things. Brett hit on three great areas there. First of all, Brett, now Steve Zapato. So when you have a promoter come up short, to call me and I'll be there in an instant. And that's exactly what when you've been speaking, as long as we've been speaking, we know how to get on a stage. If we could be sitting in the audience, I did that for a John Maxwell thing, I'll say 5-6 years ago. I thought I was enrolling in a personal John Maxwell meeting. So I went to this meeting thinking I was going to watch John Maxwell, and it was a simulcast.
Okay.
Right. And so I'm sitting in the audience along with about 45 other people, and the connection, you could tell, wasn't the greatest. So they were struggling from the get-go. Well, it was supposed to last 4 hours, and a good 45, 50 minutes in, boom, simulcast is gone.
Yeah.
And I mean, the promoting people are like, right? All the other people are standing around. I went, hold on. And I walked to the back of the room. I went, give me a microphone. I'm going on. And they went, what? I went, just give me a microphone, right? And I went up and taught just, a topic off the top. And I taught that for about 40 minutes before they got their simulcast back up and running.
Yeah.
But, it's one of those deals where when you're ready and you know your stuff, you can get up and make a difference to any organization or group. And so it was, my whole thing was talking about how you got to be ready, because, it is one of those things where everybody else was like panicked. They were like, I don't know what we're going to do. We're just going to sit around. We're going to wait. We're going to, and everybody paid their money. Well, let's make it worth your while. And so when you know your stuff,
yep,
and we call them signature topics, you should have 3 to 5 signature topics, like he said, in your back pocket. And that's what Brett talks about. And your environment. Oh my gosh. I've watched so many people fail. And that's one of the things when I teach my speakers, I say, they say, we have a thing here called Speaker Talks. Okay. You know what TEDx is, right, Brett?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I run a thing called Speaker Talks down here in Tampa. Like the next one's in January on a cruise to Cozumel. So if you decide you want to go on a cruise to Cozumel with us, we'd love to have you. But you get people on stage just like they are on TEDx. They talk for 15 minutes about their best topic, and we professionally record them. We do all that good stuff. But the whole point there is they will write to me, like their talk is coming up in a week, and they go, Steve, we're going to have PowerPoint? And I go, you know how I feel about PowerPoint, right? You know how I feel. In a 15-minute conversation, you shouldn't be using PowerPoint. I mean, if it's something that you absolutely have to put up on the screen, try that. And these people, when they talk about when you said their environment, they rely on me. I mean, I tell them, but they're only talking 50 minutes, but they rely on me. I tell them, I got this thing set. It's set in stone. Okay. So I know exactly how they're going to be able to function, but I can't control their PowerPoint. I can't control that it doesn't work or it does work. Right. And it's amazing to me how many people get up there and then their slide fails for whatever reason, or they put up the wrong slide, and you're like, and then they panic. And to me, it is, you got to know your environment. You have to, why would you take a chance on a 15-minute talk with putting anything up on the screen? And of course, there's so much to all of that. Check your microphone, check your handheld. I'm surprised how many professional speakers don't know how to hold a microphone. It goes way down here. And especially if you're in those big events, people in the back of the room don't hear you at all. All right. So we talked about those three things, and obviously John is an expert who's been around them long enough. John, have you ever had a failure? Have you ever had something just go right in the tank? And what'd you do?
Well, it's Brett, Steve, but
Oh, what'd I say? What'd I say?
I'm John this afternoon, I guess.
Oh, you look like a John then, Brett. Sorry.
Okay, well,
It's
whatever.
right there at the bottom of the screen, right there.
Oh, one thing comes to mind specifically. A few years ago, I was supposed to be a guest on a radio show, and it was on a weird day and time. It was on a Sunday afternoon or whatever. And I went home after church and got busy doing some yard work or something and just totally spaced it. And I beat myself up for weeks over that. And I haven't done that anymore. I can tell you that, Steve. But
That's right. One good lesson.
Yeah, it only took one to make sure that you never do that again. So, I mean, if you, when you have those opportunities, don't blow them like I did in that particular case. I mean, you try to make amends with the promoter and offer up something in exchange or whatever to make good or whatever, but you still, it's never what it could have been because you screwed it up essentially.
That's right. That's exactly right. All right. So, I mean, let's face it, you've done a ton since you started, and you're still basically with the same company that you started in what, 1999?
Company started officially in 2002. And
yeah. So what do you see for your future? Where do you want to be 5 or 10 years from now?
Steve, I got your questions ahead of time and I pondered that one for a while, and I'm pretty much where I want to be. I mean, we have a great team that runs the day to day, so I am able to come in when I want and focus on the areas that I'd like to focus on to help them out and all that, and help them grow in their abilities to keep things going. But I don't have to be involved in the day to day these days, which is great. I mean, my wife retired last year, so I'm headed that way in a few years, but I do a lot of volunteer work, so my flexibility allows me to do that volunteer work that I like to do. So if you ask me what I want to be when I grow up, I think I'm kind of there.
Cool. That's cool, though. I mean, that's nice. I mean, one of the things I just went over with my speech on Future World and Tomorrowland was when you retire, and that's what I ask these people. They're all younger people. The meeting planners are all in their, I'll say, late 20s to late 40s.
Yeah, not Marcus grizzled veterans, huh?
And I asked them, I said, how many people, what age do you want to retire? And they were all like, 65 years old. I went, okay. So I think the age will be 72. I don't know if the federal government's decided that or not, but for Social Security purpose, I think it's going to be 72 if it's not already.
Yeah.
I said, but let's do 70 because I like round numbers. And I said, so if you're making $100,000 a year and you want to retire at 70, basically take away taxes, you've been living on 70,000 for however long you've been making that money. So if you want to live, how long do you want to live after you retire? And all the people, people went, I don't know, 20 years, 30 years. I went 30 years. You're greedy. That's right. But I said, so let's say you live 20 years. I said, at $70,000 a year, how much money is that? And they're kind of looking at me. I went, it's, $1.4 million. I said, how many of you have set aside $1.4 million or will have by the time you reach the age of 70? Wow. And again, most hands didn't go up. So when you say you're set, that's really cool that you have your future in place. And that's, so let's talk about what you want to be remembered for rather than what you want to accomplish.
Well, both professionally and personally, I frankly want to be remembered for the people that I've helped along the way. I mean, it's not about me. It's not about the company or whatever. It's about what people are able to accomplish as a result of us helping them. And then on the personal side, the organizations or the kids that benefit from the work that I do. I mean, I'm not looking for accolades or anything like that, but I so appreciate the opportunity to be of service to others. And I just want to keep continuing that and be remembered for, being a good person and helping others out.
Yeah. So when we look at that, are you like, do you have, what do they call them? People who are helping in, I'm drawing a total blank on it. People who you bring in, who you want to teach your business. Are you teaching people how to do this or?
We have a young gal who's about 30. I say young because I'm not so young.
I get that.
38, 39, whatever, who we've just basically given her full responsibility for the day-to-day operations of the company. So my business partner and I aren't involved in the day-to-day. We have got a great, accounting manager, shipping manager, people that we trust that are going to do the things. So, the gal, all of them have been with us probably over 10 years. And so it's just a matter of, sharing in a low key way, the way that you do things and how you want to deal with people and handle situations and all that. And then it just hopefully is rubbed off in a positive way over the years and they'll carry it forward.
Okay. And so how many years before you think you'll retire, honestly?
4 or 5 maybe. I'll be 63 in a couple months.
Okay.
But I don't have any immediate plans, Steve. I wouldn't know what to do with my time, man.
Well, you said you volunteer a lot. You volunteer.
I do, and I'll continue that. But waking up every day, figuring out, all right, what am I going to do today to pass, the 12 hours I'm awake or whatever. I enjoy coming in here and working with our staff and helping people out. So,
When you
we'll
love
plug away at that.
when you love what you do, it's not a hardship to come in, is it?
No, it's not.
Yeah, that's what people say. Steve, you should be retired. I go, I should be retired, but I got a lot of people to help too. I mean, lots of, I'm not. It's not like I'm lifting weights, lifting train car stuff and loading box cars, anything like that. I'm teaching people how to be better speakers and presenters and how to build speaking businesses. But you know what? I ran across something. One of our speakers at the last speaker talks. Do you know what an ESOP is? ESOP.
Employee stock ownership plan.
Yeah. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, employee-owned business.
Yeah. Yeah. See, she said, and she just sold hers, I guess, a couple of years ago. But if you hear this Patty Plew, if you look her up on LinkedIn, but boy, when you talk about getting ready to sell, you can sell your company and still maintain control over it. So you could still come into work for as long as you wanted to come into work until you decided, hey, I'm done with this. And so that to me, because that way your employees go, wait a minute, so I'm now part owner in this business, and you're like, yeah, I mean, what a reward. So I'd never heard of that until this year. And so I thought it was a phenomenal. I mean, I've heard of, the grocery stores where the employees, own stock in the company or something. But,
Right.
I didn't pay much attention. And then when I found out that you can do that with small businesses as well as medium and large size businesses, I thought it was just cool. And she said you can even sell I think her talk was titled "Sell Your Business Twice." It was like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I'll pass that on just in case you had to look farther into it. So
Well,
go ahead.
what's the gal's name again, Steve?
Patty, Patti, Plough, Plough, and she's on LinkedIn, Patty Plough.
Oh,
So
check
tell
it
her,
out.
yeah, tell her I sent her to you, because I think you get along well with her, and she'd probably have a lot to give you information on, and that's really the key. That's why we're on this thing. We're here because you can give information to speakers to help us get better, and we might be able to help you in certain ways, and I hope that was one of them. But when you talk about what you have, like, we're coming down to the last 5 or 6 minutes here, what kind of information or advice do you have for speakers or other people who might want to be back of the room people?
Well, for the longest time, I was a very introverted person, Steve, and I was quite comfortable being the person in the back of the room. I mean, it was kind of a shtick, so to speak, or whatever. But then about, I don't know, 8, 10 years ago, whenever I said, I need to get up in the front of the room too and just overcome that natural fear of being up in front. And because I have things that I can share that will be of benefit to the audience.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I essentially, I don't know, I was self-taught myself to be the one to get up in the front of the room and deliver content and all that. And I'm not the world's greatest speaker and all that by any stretch of the
Hey,
imagination.
I know a great speaking coach who can help you with that.
And I don't really consider myself a speaker per se. I mean, I do it some for business purposes, to be up in front of the room. Obviously, it gives you more credibility and all that. And it's a chance in a low-key manner to, share what you do with the audience and all that. But the bottom line or the point of it all, you can't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone and tackle new skills and all that. And that was something that I had to overcome. And I'm sure it's something a lot of your speakers have to overcome. So, just go for it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen, honestly? So
that's right. Well, and that's I put out a lot of little, like 2, 3, 5 minute video type things, teaching or trying to help people understand that. Matter of fact, Warren Buffett, it was 2017. Warren Buffett was doing a college commencement. He said the way to improve your value to any company by 50% is by taking a public speaking course. And I was like, yes, most people don't understand how much a public speaking course can really change. Like you say, you didn't have to take one because you just got up on stage. It was your time to do it. And there's a lot of people who are trainers, right, who probably need a public speaking course, but there's a lot of people who are trainers, and that's what you do in front is you train people, you teach them on certain things. But people don't understand how important a public speaking course really is for their future, no matter what they do. Anybody who owns a business certainly should be taking that course. As a matter of fact, I sat down with
Yeah.
my newest client this morning, and we were just simply talking about, she does tax workshops and seminars,
Mhm.
and she wants to do that online too, but she is not great on camera. So you have to teach her, and it's little things. Like I said, what kind of facial expression do you give people? She said, what do you mean? And you're like, well, you got to know that stuff if you want to win more clients. But
Yeah.
it's always a package stuff. So I really appreciate you saying that it takes courage to get up in front of a group, doesn't it?
Well, it does, but it's something like anything else. The more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. I mean, I don't have nerves anymore when I get up and talk at all. And they say sometimes if you don't have butterflies, then you're not doing it right. But if you're comfortable with your area of expertise and just are wanting to share with people, then you'll be fine.
That's right. That's exactly right. So along that lines, what can we do to help you? Anything we can offer you?
Well, we're still supporting speakers, authors, and information marketers. So if you have clients or people you've trained that recognize that their primary function should be speaking and developing, markets, et cetera, versus getting their things in the hands of their customers, then point them our way and we'll be happy to help them out.
Cool.
I mean, I've written 6 books myself, Steve, so I understand where they're coming from. I know what they're facing and dealing with. And so we can, there's
Which
a lot
reminds me, how do we get in touch with you? I don't think I've asked that yet. Do you have a website? How do we get in touch with you?
Sure. The core business is called Speaker Fulfillment Services, and the website is speakerfulfillmentservices.com. And then we've also established various sub-brands to that, such as shipyourbooks.com and all that, aimed primarily at authors. But Speaker Fulfillment Services is a core site. I encourage people to take a visit. If you have questions, I'm always happy to chat with people on the phone. And our best phone number is 812-877-7100. Again, 812-877-7100. Or they can email me, Brett@speakerfulfillmentservices.com, and that's Brett with 1 T.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, when I started to write it down, I wrote it with 2, and then I looked, I went, oh, it's only got 1. That's cool.
And
What's
no
your phone number? What's your phone number again?
No E in Ridgeway. So Brett with 1 T,
That's right.
Ridgeway without an E, and I have no middle name, so I'm very minimal. All right.
I like it. What's your phone number again?
Phone number 812-877-7100.
Cool. I'll make sure I include that in the thing when we put it out on the web. And I sure appreciate you spending time with me today, Brett. Matter of fact, I'm serious when I say if you want to come on the cruise, I have 15 people who are speakers, and hopefully there'll be another 15 or 20 who want to be speakers.
What's your
who are looking into it. We're in January of 2022. So it's January 13th through the 17th. I tell people you got to get on the boat on this 13th, but we throw you off the boat at 7 a.m. on Monday. So you can still go to work. If you got a job and you're worried about how much time, it's just you got a Thursday and Friday off, but you can go back to work on Monday.
You got a website up for that, Steve?
I don't yet, but I'll be glad to send you info.
Yeah, send me info.
Yeah. And that way, even if you do nothing else, you have a great cruise to Cozumel you can enjoy, but you might also run across a speaker or two who really need your services. You never know. That's right. It's connections. It's getting to know people. Well, Brett, I sure appreciate your time today. We're coming up on our 30 minutes. If there's anything you folks need from Brett, if you're a speaker, if you're a corporate trainer, if you're somebody who, matter of fact, I work with Bill Walsh, and he teaches people. Yeah, he teaches people how to sell from the stage. If you're part of the Bill Walsh environment, my goodness, you're going to need somebody to fulfill your stuff at the back of the room. Bill doesn't talk about that. He should be talking about that. He should say, man, you got to have, because he always says, people, they go to see my people in the back of the room. Well, he doesn't say that he's got people. He just never mentions you guys. And I'm going to give him crap about that because I'm going to see him that on Wednesday. I'm going to say, go see Speaker Fulfillment Services at the back of the room. And he's going to look at me like, what?
Yeah, we does some work for Bill. He's a good man.
Yeah. And he's very successful. And he teaches people how to sell from the stage. And trust me, if you're selling from the stage, you need Brett Ridgeway to help you out on your stuff. So anything else we can do for you, please let us know. I'm Steve Sapato. You've been listening to Speaker Talks podcast. You can reach me at steve@stevesapato.com. And with that, I hope you have a blessed week. God bless.
Thank you, everybody.